Here I am again, my voice, no camera. I like this. Okay, I see the theme. The words are not there yet. Okay, there's a starting point. I recently listened to a recording with Ra about black and white magic, the birth and death of it, and quick summary. I won't go into detail, but in the body graph, black magic is in gate 48 and white magic is in gate 11. Black magic, because it's form magic, it's body magic, and it's logical. It's the logical patterns of life magic. And gate 11, because it is the abstract magic about beliefs. So it's where you have religion hanging out there. Whereas 48 might be, you could think of it like paganism. It's the magic of the earth. And gate 11 is in the mind. It's the magic of the mind, right? It's how you can really, have a hold on somebody because of pulling them into certain beliefs. And according to the precession of the equinox, we're moving into the sleeping phoenix, which is the only right angle cross, so the only global cycle that doesn't include the collective. So where it's the individual, it's the not knowing that I spoke about before. And it's where the individual rules. It's where you're busy for yourself. And no one is an authority over you. And so Ra is speaking about the death of the black and white magic, in that it's the death of the collective hold. And it, probably is not going to be a quick death, but if you look around with kind of distant eyes, where you're not too involved in the narratives, you may see that there is a huge deterioration happening. Some use the word apocalypse, which just means the unveiling. It's like seeing the illusion behind the magic. The collective uses these forms of magic as a way of control, right? And black magic is where you have deep knowledge of patterns of how things work in nature, and you don't share it, so that you can use it to hold one over on somebody. And what we see, gate 48 feeds into gate 16. So what we see, which is in the global cycle right now, it's just skills. And so many of them are just very superficial. And that reminds me, I'm looking now at the Rei Ching, because gate 16, line 1 is what's in the global cycle right now. And that is, Delusion. False enthusiasm. The expression of talent through daydreaming, the tendency to express fantasy as fact, is the detriment. And this detriment is interesting, because this is where I feel like there's a lot of revelation going on for those with eyes to see. And ears to hear, to quote the white magic of the Bible. I don't hold to that. I used to when I was young, but so there are phrases in it that have stuck with me, but The tendency to express fantasy as fact, and I find it very interesting that what I've been seeing over the last years, through my personal experience, has really been the death of that hold of black magic, because I'm seeing through the false skills, seeing through the fact, the so-called fact, to see the fantasy. See that so many of what we take as skills have no real leg to stand on. Because in the global cycle, we have skills, but we don't have depth. There are details, so we see lots and lots and lots of details that can confuse you like mad, and keep a hold on you. And the reason why I'm saying this has to do with health, and in particular, the medical system, which is a black magic system. From my point of view, from what I see, from what I know about the history of its inception, from what I've read and looked into about the history of the current medical system's beginnings over 100 years ago, how it came to be and what it's built on, which is a lot of illusion, a lot of false, unproven, and many times falsified, or in other words, proven wrong, hypotheses. Not based on fact. It's based on fantasy, a lot of it. And on spells. And when I say spells, what I mean is words. When you name things, and that's another thing in our global cycle. If we, these skills that are some of them delusional, based on fantasy, with lots and lots of details and names, the gate 62. And the kind of the saving gate in all of that is inner truth, gate 61. If you go there, wait for your own knowing. That's the individual that saves you from the collective magic that can hold things on over you. And I bring this up because it is one of the things I've been seeing in the last years, and I've mostly keep my mouth shut about, because very few people invite my seeing about this. But it's coming up now a little bit, which is how the spells of words in the medical system, and when I say that, I mean diagnoses, names of illnesses, this very specialized language that the medical profession throws at you. Oh, it's such a spell. It's such a spell. And a lot of it, most of it, not all of it, but most of it is built on sinking sand. I mean, I'm a foundations person. If something is involving my personal process, I'm going to knock down that foundation that is weak. And even if I don't know what the next one is, because I am a line 3 anarchist, and I just can't deal with false foundations. I can't deal with things that don't, related to my personal life, because I am very, personalized, 1-3 personal process, personal view, like related to me, what I come across that I see that doesn't have a leg to stand on, I throw it out. And that is what I've done with the majority of the medical system. Because, like I said, it's based on a lot of falsified hypotheses and then just unproven ones. And I will say it, the last few years were based on falsified hypotheses. Not on fact, on fantasy, on delusion, gate 16, line 1. False enthusiasm. The tendency to express fantasy as fact. This is very interesting. The public communication of inevitably unrealized claims. Claims need to be proven with facts. And there's no more words coming out about that for now, so I leave that at that. But I bring this up because I've also been seeing other people having experiences like I've had in the past with the medical system, which is being under the spell of those words. And then you link those words to be your identity. When I was given the words, they're just words. When I was given the words osteoarthritis and developmental hip dysplasia and I don't know, there are a bunch of other ones. No, I don't remember. And the prognosis of needing a hip replacement and these words that were thrown at me, I took them on as an identity at the time, which let me stay in a very a victimized state, which I needed to stay in for a while. I needed that. Yeah. I needed it until I didn't need it anymore. It was part of what got me to see the false foundations. I needed to go there. I needed to test it. I needed to hear what was said, and I needed to test it through my own experience. And so I've been seeing people around me in my life, and I don't say anything because they have not invited me to say anything. So I just watch, and that's it. I wait, and I just recognize what I recognize. I see what I see. But who are in that place where they've been given words that they take on as an identity and actually creates more problems. And this is where the black magic comes in. And there are people behind this medical system that know that it's all based on delusion and claims and false facts. Not all, but most of it. A lot of it. And then there's a bunch that they don't have a clue. They just learn what they learn, and then they spout it. That's how false religions work. That's how the magic works. You cast the spells. And so the spells are repeated by the ones that don't really have a clue. They're ignorant. They're ignorant. They don't know what they're doing, but they're wreaking havoc and causing harm. And I see that because of the digging that I've done and because of the knowledge that I have now and the experiential knowing, if I can say that, the experiential making sense of it that brought me to understanding and some knowing, that those, when you go to those places that belong to this current medical system, for me, there's a risk of getting hit by a spell and actually creating more problems than solving them. There's a lot of death that's created in the system, a lot of death, which, death comes to us all. So it comes to us all when it comes, and that's that, but, it's sad. It's sad to see that's happening. And there's a lot of dis-ease. There's a lot of, I'll use the word that it makes more sense to me, biological conflict shocks that are created within the magic spells of the diagnoses. And yeah, I see it. In my studies, I've heard terrible stories of case studies of this. And, I just heard a hearsay. It was a story a friend told me of another friend. And when I heard the story of, what they went through with going to see the doctors, and then the doctors saying, oh, by the way, you have blah, 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 blah. And I just cringed because I thought, you are creating problems because you don't know why that's happening. You don't know what that means. What you have done is you've wreaked havoc in somebody's life, and they believe you, and they trust you, and they trust your magic, and they trust the religion of the medical system. And now this person is dealing with more crises on top of the ones, the smaller one that they had. So, yeah, there's the words now have started to fade. So I have no idea why I'm talking about this. It's something that I've been watching and seeing for the last few years. but it's not really been invited out of me, except for this week it came up where a couple of people were interested in speaking to me about health issues from the perspective of Germanische Heilkunde, Germanic New Medicine, which describes through true scientific method, and you can test it for yourself, describes the 5 biological laws by which we experience biological programs because of biological conflict shocks that happen to us when we're in a situation. And you can trace all so-called disease, all of those names, those spells they give you. First of all, you need to throw away the names and look at just what is the body doing, because the body doesn't care about names. I mean, the naming comes from the mind. Look at it. It's in the body graph. The 62 is filtered out of the mind. But the body is like, I don't care about the names. The body just knows its own logical processes and its own rhythms. That's what it knows. And so when you get a magic spell diagnostic name from this system, you need to look at what the symptoms are. What is the body doing? Which tissues are involved? Which organs are involved? So which germ layer is involved in those tissues of that organ? And so which part of the brain is it linked to? Okay, and now what does that mean? What theme of conflict shock have I lived through? I'm not going into details at the moment, but this is the process that I go through when something comes up in my body. I need to look at the symptoms. What is my body doing and where? And then that leads me to, okay, now I can understand what happened to me. And then I go back and look and see, okay, where did that happen to me? And a biological conflict shock, which in Germanische Heilkunde terms is called a DHS, is a moment in time, an acute moment, which is one of the characteristics of it. It's an acute event, dramatic. Even if it's mini dramatic, it's dramatic to you at that moment. And it catches you off guard. That's the second characteristic. So you're not in, it's not like you're in a flow of something and this happens in the flow. No, it comes in and shocks you. That's why it's called a conflict shock. It comes out of nowhere. It's a phone call. It's a fall. It's a somebody giving you a diagnosis. It's anything. It could be somebody telling you something that you weren't expecting. Often it's that. So many things, right? It could be somebody telling you that you're going to get sick because there's a so-called virus that's hanging around. Okay, now you've had a conflict shock. That can happen. It has happened to many people. So catches you off guard. This is the second thing, the surprise. And then the third thing is that you're left feeling alone at that moment. At that moment, you are on your own to deal with this, even if you're in a crowd, even if you're next to your loved one. That thing that happens isolates you. You feel isolated. So in that moment, your biological system is overwhelmed. So your nervous system is overwhelmed by whatever it is that happened acutely, that caught you off guard, and you are alone to deal with it. And that is what makes what's called a biological conflict shock. And that sets into motion a biological program, a special, significant biological program that has a meaning, because it's your body's way of dealing with that shock. Basically, your body begins to give you the therapy you need for that thing. It is the therapy. So there are changes that happen in your body, in the tissues of the organ that are connected, in the brain, in that part of the brain, in that relay that's related to that exact theme. And this has been mapped out by Dr. Hammer. It's been proven over and over again. Dr. Hammer was able to not even see someone, but just look at their CT scan and be able to say exactly what was going on with them and which stage they were. He was able to see what happened to them years before because the scar stays on the brain. So, I mean, it's very scientific. It's not woo-woo, okay? It's not the delusion. I'm a foundations person. I'm here to look and find where the delusion is and break it down, because I need something that's not delusional. I need something that is fact, that I can put my 2 feet on, that is a solid foundation. I need that. And I need that particularly around health. I'm splenic. This is a big theme for me. So, and this is just what I've seen, is so many people, like, and Dr. Hammer called this because he saw it over and over and over and over and over again, is so many people suffer diagnostic shocks, or diagnosis shock, I think is what he called it. Because he just saw it all the time, where people would start having what would be called a disease that started in the doctor's office, in the medical cult with their magic spells. So according to Ra, we're coming to the end of the magic spells era as we move into the individual cross of the sleeping phoenix, which means you've got some time right now to find your inner truth. You've got some time to look through the delusion. Throw out the details that don't matter. Get rid of the words that are causing harm. This is the foundation. Like, we're in the line 1 theme right now, just for a few more years. So me as a line 1 is saying you're welcome to find a foundation that's solid if you feel that. And of course, I don't tell anybody what to do. I'm just giving my experience and my seeing and my logic, because this is coming from my logic. I have almost the whole stream of taste, and so I know that's been a huge part of this process of me, digging deep to find for me what works so that I can stay out of those places. Because my body does not want to be in a hospital. My body does not want to be in the doctor's office. My body doesn't even want to be in the dentist's office unless it really, really has to. So right now I have a huge hole in one of my teeth. It's been there for, I don't know, months. And food gets stuck in there sometimes, and whatever. Gotta clean it out, and that's that. My body has not moved in that direction because I don't know why, to be honest, but I don't feel particularly safe being told their narration. And because I've been there, done that, I've had that experience. I see it doesn't work so well, so I stay away as much as possible, and I heal on my own at home by myself. Yeah, sometimes there might be someone to talk to just help me stay calm, but usually I'm a single definition splenic 1-3, so for me it's usually just on my own. And going through the discomfort, going through the pain. The healing phase is painful. No matter what healing phase, it's not comfortable. But this foundation that I've found has been the most solid one that I've found. I'm not saying it's everything. I'm not saying it's for everybody. It requires a lot of it requires you being your own authority. It really does. Like, you need to be your own authority in terms of health. Of course, there's support out there from different people who help with this and can guide. Maybe that's something that maybe I could do. I don't know what I can do until someone invites me, so I don't know. I have a couple invitations, so we'll see. But being able to parse it through, there's somebody that I see when I get to a point where sometimes it's hard for me to figure out what exactly happened, and sometimes I need to talk to somebody to help me get calm. So there's somebody within the world of Germanische Heilkunde that I reach out to and ask for a session, and it helps to situate, because basically what it is like the mind needs to calm down while the body does what it does, which is basically life. And that's the parallel that I find with Germanische Heilkunde and what I see about health and what I see in individual health, getting rid of the black and white magic of the medical cult and finding your individual authority in your health. And so it's the same thing in terms of human design, is that, you know, it's always the mind that is freaking out in both of these circumstances, you know, in living your human design, in going through biological conflict shocks and the biological programs. It's the mind that's freaking out. It's the body that knows what to do, because the black magic actually is in the body. And the body knows. Like the real magic is in the body. The words have come to an end. I don't know what I said, as always. I really don't know. So maybe that's for somebody out there. Who knows? Talk to you later.